Welcome to the Betting Above the Rim podcast. Today's date, May 26th, episode 152 of the Betting Above the Rim podcast. And let's get started with the Knicks came back in stunning fashion, almost more stunning than the two huge comeback wins that the Knicks had versus Boston. The Knicks win 106-100. Covering as a 1.5 point underdog to get themselves back into the series at 2-1. And if you watched in-game live last night with myself and Kevin Walsh, you saw all of Coach. You saw an out-of-body experience when I absolutely shredded any Knicks fan that had the audacity to say that Jalen Brunson was the greatest Knick of all time, as they were getting crushed by 20. And then all of a sudden, the third quarter happens. Fourth foul on Cat. Fourth foul on Brunson. And I'm like, oh, this team's done. You're rolling in DeLon Wright. You're rolling in Larry Shamet. You're rolling in Deuce McBride. And then Karl Anthony Towns happened. A Karl Anthony Towns that struggled mightily in the game. 4 points to 3 quarters. Scores 20 out of 24. And that guy was all up in his bag. Post move checks. Drive to the basket checks. Dunk on your face check. Free throws, check. Cat from deep, check. And it was a performance that a guy from New Jersey who grew up a Knicks fan, that on Dominican Mother's Day, and anybody knows about Cat knows about him losing his mom and how close he was to his mother and how close he is to Karl Anthony Towns Sr. What a performance by Cat. And he literally saved their ass with his performance. But there's more. And I got to get through this quick because I have other stuff I want to talk about in the tip-off topics. Number one, Tom Thibodeau goes with Josh Hart out of the starting lineup, Mitchell Robinson in the starting lineup. And it worked because it allowed them to have a better defensive start. So it helped them in that regard. And allowed Josh Hart to come off the bench, which then, honestly enough, with the foul trouble in the third quarter, after he had 3 fouls in the first half, it kind of unlocked Deuce McBride a little bit to not have to be worried about the point guard responsibilities, and Deuce was tremendous. Larry Shamet came in the game, gave them big minutes to knock down a 3. DeLon Wright came in and played defense. It kind of was an old-school throwback Knick game in the tip style, which is defense first, and holding Indiana, I do believe, to 42 points in the second half. What a performance by Tom Thibodeau's Knicks, as they are now down 2-1 with Game 4 coming up on Tuesday night. Be sure to continue to look at this podcast as we'll spend the scouting report and our award tour breaking down this game and series. Moving on to the Western Conference, and not the game, but David Adelman, who did a remarkable job of getting the Denver Nuggets to Game 7 of the Western Conference semifinals after losing to OKC, has been named the head coach for the Nuggets. David Adelman, the son of Rick Adelman, former NBA coach, did a masterful job, particularly on the defensive end, getting Denver to play much better basketball. The issue with Denver, honestly, is not David Adelman. Their issue is what do they do with Russell Westbrook? Do they get some of these younger guys more time next year? A guy like Deron Holmes, the 6'9" center out of Dayton who tore his Achilles, should help them with their bench depth. To me, David did a great job. Now, I'm still a Michael Malone guy, and I think he deserves to be in the league. But David Adelman deserved, for what he did at the end of the season, particularly on the defensive end, to be named head coach of Nuggets. Congrats to Coach. Let's head to the W, as there were 2 games that I want to talk about here for a minute or two. And the first game is the Liberty 90-88 win versus the Indiana Fever. The Liberty were, I do believe, 2.5-point favorites at tip-off, so if that's correct, they missed by the hook. It was a game of runs. It was a really interesting game to watch as the Liberty played particularly well in the first half. Caitlin Clark had struggled mightily in the first half. And then baby girl got in her bag. And she went on a huge run, including a monstrous, and I mean monstrous, three-pointer at the buzzer. And it looked like the Liberty were dead in the water, being outscored 30-13. But what a performance by Sandy Bordello's crew in the fourth quarter. Stewie did not have a particularly great game in regard to what she's capable of, only shooting 4-11 from the floor. But this is why New York is where New York is. I had someone tell me that that's connected to the WNBA. Actually, a big-time official. And actually a coach tell me, the Liberty are most dangerous when Jonquel Jones is engaged. Well, Jonquel Jones was absolutely engaged with 28 points and 12 rebounds. Natasha Cloud continues to be one of the best free agent signings in the WNBA with her performance, and not just her performance on the offensive end, but the key strip of Caitlin Clark, 16 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists for her. Sabrina Ionescu, 20 field goal attempts, maybe not the volume you like, but Sab did go ahead and get you 23 points. It played well. So what a job by them. And obviously, on the other side, Caitlin Clark got going, shot the ball poorly from 3-2 of 11, but did get herself a decent game here. Aaliyah Boston was fantastic. Stephanie White changes the lineup, pulls Dawana Botter out, put Lexi Hull in. That worked for a little bit, but they got to get better play out of Dawana Botter. Let's head to a game in the Western Conference where Seattle just absolutely bum rushed, and I mean bum rushed, the Aces 102-82, and it was over at the break as it was a 22-point lead. I have concerns with the Aces. I have to be honest with you. I have concerns with the fact that I don't think they have the depth that people think. I think losing players like Darica Hamby and Alicia Clark and Kate Martin the last 2 or 3 years has hurt the depth. I'm not sold on Kia Stokes. I like Kia Stokes as a player, but she should not be starting for that team. Now, I don't know if you want to move. You don't have a lot of options, right? I don't know if you move Asia Wilson to the 5 and then put someone else at the 4, because their problem is they need Kia in the center or big because they're too small. And that's the other part. I love Jack Young as a player. I love the point guard Chelsea Gray as a player. I love Jewel Lloyd as a player. But I don't like the three of them together. It doesn't work. And maybe they got Jewel Lloyd in because they think Chelsea Gray's at the twilight of her career. I just always thought that the way that Kelsey Plum played, it fit playing with those other two, because if you need her to get in her bag, she can get in her bag and create and score off the bounce. But Kelsey Plum is a dynamite three-point shooter. I think they missed it. I think they missed Kelsey Plum. I think they missed their bench depth, and they just don't look the same. The best team in the Western Conference is the Minnesota Lynx. We're going to see what happens with the Las Vegas Aces throughout the WNBA season. Coming up next, we'll get into our award tour as we break down the Eastern Conference Finals between the Knicks and the Pacers, talk about the series, and see if we can find you some value with the MVP. We'll be back with our award tour after this commercial break. Welcome back to the Betting Above the Rim podcast, episode 152, and it's time to get into our award tour as we break down the future markets. I want to take this time to not only talk about the series in New York and some betting angles that I'm looking at, but kind of take a big picture look at what I've seen through 3 games, what has worked for each team, and then maybe give you someone to win Eastern Conference Finals MVP that's not Jalen Brunson or Tyrese Halliburton, because I actually think it's going to be one of a player from one of the other 2, not including them. So let's go and take a look at after Game 3 win by the Knicks. Series odds right now where the Knicks are a plus 184 to win the series. The Pacers are minus 220. You look at the odds in regards to series spread. If the Knicks were to run this through and win the next 3 straight, win a 4-2, that's plus 790. Knicks plus 1.5 is minus 104. Knicks plus 2.5 is minus 385. That means they get closed out in 6. Pacers minus 1.5 at minus 118. Minus 2.5 at plus 290. And plus 1.5 at minus 1,500. So the series has been tight. I know people want to sit here and get into this whole concept of, the Pacers up 2-1, but if you really look at it, 10 minutes could have this series at 3-0 either direction, right? That run that the Knicks had in the fourth quarter with Cat going nuclear. You can look at the end of Game 1 and then a little stretch of Game 2 where it got away from New York. This has been really tight. So what is the best bet? The best bet is obviously for this to go, to me, over 6.5 games. I think that's 7 games with an all over it, which is getting you at about plus 146 right now. If you want to take a stab on one of the 2 teams, I think it's the Knicks plus 1.5 at minus 104. So you're saying, wait, you're gonna take the Knicks plus 1.5, which means they could lose a Game 7 at home. Well, folks, look at how well Indiana's played on the road. Look how poorly the Knicks have played on the road, at home. And then look at it the flip side. Could you see a scenario where this is 3-2, Knicks win Game 6, it goes back to MSG for a Game 7? Do remember that the Indiana Pacers hung 130 on the New York Knicks last year in a Game 7 at MSG. So, and it's the same characters, right? Same players. So they're not going to be scared of the moment. I think this is going 7. Now, I do like New York. So, could you do the plus 184? Absolutely. But if you just take the Knicks plus 1.5 games at even money, you can find yourself making yourself a little bit of money. I think when you look at it, it's going to come down to the personnel, right? So if you look at the Eastern Conference odds to win MVP, Tyrese Halliburton is the leader in the clubhouse at a minus 140. Jalen Brunson is sitting at a plus 240. Pascal Siakam is sitting at a plus 650. Cat, 11-1. And then, with all due respect, there's no need to be looking at anyone else. So it's easy for me to say Brunson, Halliburton, right? It's easy to say that. But there's a couple of reasons why I don't like that. Number one, both of them are getting exposed defensively. Obviously, Jalen Brunson got, 5 fouls, was the only player in the Knicks starting lineup. Actually, the only Knicks player that played last night that had a negative plus-minus. And Tyrese Halliburton, to me, is a negative defender. Meaning they're going to put them in action to get switches to try and attack them. So I'm not going there. For me, if it's going to be Indiana, it's going to be Pascal Siakam. A Pascal Siakam that I thought was not aggressive enough in game number 3 after scoring 39 points in game number 2. A Pascal Siakam that at 31 years old really has the ability to not only take over the game with his scoring, but as a secondary ball handler and a rugged defender. Pascal Siakam, 17, 39, 17. Now, the problem is his rebounding numbers aren't really high, so I think you'd probably have to pick up the rebounding numbers. When you go to the Knicks, it's Cat. And I'm stunned. I am stunned that the margin is nearly $8, $9. If you watched that game last night, Karl-Anthony Towns put the team on his back. Now, I know Brunson is playing with a big lead in regards to scoring. But the fact of what Cat has done, rebounding the ball, and the 20-point fourth quarter where their backs are against the wall, you're going to say there's a chance. Cat has 20 points or more in all 3 games. He's got 7+ rebounds in all of them. Obviously, he has, 21 points, 11.3 rebounds during the postseason. And if the Knicks are going to win this series, they have to go through Cat. They have to go through Cat. You saw him with an aggressive mindset, the ability to take the ball to the basket. Damn, you even saw him do a post move. Get the ball in the pivot, couple of dribbles to the middle, drop step, baseline, off glass. If the Knicks are going to win this series, they're going to have to go through Cat. And if they go through Cat, that means Cat at 11-1 could be Eastern Conference Finals MVP. Coming up next, we'll get into our scouting report as we'll break down that pivotal Game 4 between the Knicks and the Pacers as the Knicks try to level up the series and the Pacers try to go up 3-1 and head it back to Gotham. We'll be back with our scouting report after this commercial break. Welcome back to the Betting Above the Rim podcast, episode 152, and it's time to get into our scouting report as we preview games in the NBA and WNBA. For the NBA, we'll just solely focus on game number 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals, which will take place Tuesday night in Indiana as the Knicks go in as a 2.5-point underdog with an over-under of 221. Obviously, you see that over-under has come down because of the fact of playing and starting Mitchell Robinson. I listen, shout out to my best friend Donnie McDermott. My best friend said to me 2 days ago, he's like, Knicks are going to run 4 in a row. I'm like, I don't know if they're going to 4 in a row, but I think they're going to level the series up. It took I think Tibbs may have stumbled onto something. Number 1, he's got to use his bench more. Number 2, he's got to go through Cat. So my best bet is Karl-Anthony Towns over 22.5 points. He got 24, 20 into the second half, and they got better spacing on the floor. And I really think you're going to see Cat figure this out with Mitchell Robinson a little bit. And I wouldn't be surprised when Mitch Rob goes out, they go inside the Cat. I think Cat will go inside and go at them, particularly if Indiana goes small ball and puts Siakam on him in the pivot. Cat over 22.5 points. And I'm going to go for, I don't go into this market a lot, but I'm going to look at OG Anunoby over 1.5 steals at plus money. This is arguably, I don't care that he was not on any all defensive teams. This is one of the best defenders in the world. He's going to be going against Siakam primarily of the time. He does not get into a lot of foul trouble. It is plus money. Give me OG Anunoby over 1.5 steals at plus money. Let's head to the WNBA as we have a 5-game slate. And I want to just run through these really quick on what I'm looking at. Number one, Dallas has looked awful. Same thing as Connecticut. But Paige is coming home. Paige is coming home. Paige Becker's over 14.5 points. She went under to her last game at 13 in her last matchup. She shot 15 times and did not get a lot of minutes in the fourth quarter. You actually think they're sending Paige back to UConn and they ain't giving this girl 16, 17, 20 shots? No. Enrique will pass the ball a little bit. Paige Becker's over 14.5 points. Look at this line. Lord have mercy. New York Liberty are huge favorites. And this is actually wrong. They're minus 17.5 right now versus the Golden State Valkyries. So you got to be nervous with this game in regards to what you take because of the fact of, it should not be a contest. What I would look to do here is I would try to take the Liberty in the first half to go over and get the win here. Maybe look at Jonquel Jones, a.k.a. Miss Double Double, the pride of GW, at plus 120. Heading over to the Western Conference, huge matchup. Seattle off a 20-point win versus the Minnesota Lynx. Minnesota has looked really, really good. But to me, I look at this number, and I think you could have two teams that play, ready, folks, good defense here. 154.5 is intriguing here, but I look at the matchup also of who can go ahead and stop Big Fish. Now, Fisher Collier, I love Inyeke Awumake. I love Megaber. I love Gabby Williams. But this lady right now should be the MVP in the league. Now, Fisher Collier over 24.5 points. Kelsey Plum, Ryan Howard, buckle up. 164.5. No props are out right now. Look over 164.5 and be on the lookout for a scouting report tomorrow for the WNBA, where I'll give you a player prop on one of those two. And lastly, Phoenix Sky. Phoenix is minus 7.5 point favorites. I will run to the window. I will take the Phoenix Mercury minus a point, and I will say this. Forget the Valkyries. Forget the Mystic. Forget all the Wings. The worst team in the WNBA is the Chicago Sky. They have no perimeter play. They're playing too many minutes. And Angel Reese doesn't have the help she needs. Lay the 7.5 for the Mercury. This has been your Betting Above the Rim podcast, episode 152 for May 26th. For all things sports gambling, download the Sports Grid app. Pre-game, in-game, post-game, props, predictions, and more from the very best in the sports gambling industry. For my producer, Matty George, Vinny does a great job with the graphics. Thanks for listening, folks. And always remember, it's smarter to be on Sports Grid. Good night.